All right, and I see we are live on Facebook. So again, I'm just going to welcome that community as well. Again, good evening and welcome to the Southeast and Southwest Trail Study Group meeting. This is for Southside Trail segments 2 through 5 in construction and segment 6 in design updates. So we're going to go ahead and go to that next slide. We want to thank you all again for participating in this virtual public meeting. I am Rashida Williamson, the Community Engagement Manager for the Atlanta Beltline Incorporated, or ABI, which is the organization responsible for implementing the vision of the Beltline. Right now, we have enabled live transcription, so if you would like to view this option, please click Live Transcript at the bottom of your screen to select your preferences. Additionally, tonight's meeting will be recorded and it will be posted on our website at beltline.org/meetings. I would like to let you all know that we have several members of our ABI team, as well as some from the consultant team on the call tonight. Because again, Atlanta Beltline Incorporated is committed to creating a culture within the organization that values and advances equity and inclusion. So part of that means representation of our 45 plus Beltline neighborhoods on staff. And staff members participating with you tonight are from various disciplines across ABI's organization, and they're here to support you for an experience with our presentation, Q&A, and Facebook Live. So now at this time, I just want to like to invite Councilmember Winston just to welcome us to this space. I do apologize. I thought we had Councilmember Winston on as well. I'm going to welcome Councilmember Lewis to this space.
Thank you. I don't know if my camera's showing right now or not, but thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to be a part of this call today. My name is Count, as she said, as Rashida said before, Antonio Lewis, City Councilman for District 12. Super excited about the completion, about the updates on the Southside Trail because of the fights that we had to do to get the Southside Trail done. As most folks know, the Southside portion of the Beltline was the last portion, was one of the last portions that they started working on, and they've actually it's going to be the first one that's going to be complete, so folks can actually go from the west side to the east side trail, which are big things to me. Another reason why this is such a huge thing to me is because I know public things bring private investment. If you look at the Southside Trail being complete, you can see two things that happened in the last 2 weeks that are reflective of that. You can see the West End Mall being purchased by the city of Atlanta. That's a public thing in the Beltline. But then right down the street, like 2 days later, you can hear about Atrium purchasing the Met. And Atrium is one of the largest house builder giants in America. They just purchased 40 acres for $70 million on Metropolitan Parkway. And I think that is a result of the Beltline actually stretching and that public good bringing private investment. Lastly, I want to talk about Southtown Trail and the huge outlook for that. Southtown Trail actually connecting to the Beltline as well. Southtown Trail starts at Southside. It starts on Cleveland Avenue and Jonesboro Road, and it eventually will go all the way to University, which is a connection with the Beltline. Super excited to be a part of that process and the dream of the Beltline in which it is to connect to the Atlanta airport. That means that the Beltline will be touching District 12 many more times. So thank you again for bringing me onto this call. Thank you again for finishing the South Side first. And I'll be around for any calls, for any questions, anything later.
Thank you, Councilmember Lewis. Thank you so much. Hope you can stay around for the rest of our updates. So now I'm just going to provide an overview of our meeting format for tonight. So we can go ahead and go to that next slide. I just want to let you all know currently right now we are joined by 25 people on the call tonight currently for our Zoom virtual meeting platform. Again, we are also broadcasting live to Facebook. So if you are watching on the Zoom platform or Facebook Live, you can follow along at the agenda at the top of each slide. And if you are listening by phone, of course, I will walk you through the meeting agenda now. So our agenda tonight has opened with a welcome and meeting logistics, and we will follow this with the audience polling and a Beltline 101. After that, we will have a presentation on our Southeast and Southwest study groups, focusing on our Southside Trail segments 2 through 5 construction updates going in chronological order, and then our segment 6 design as well. Now, this presentation will be followed by a question and answer portion for any questions, comments, or general conversation. So we please ask that you do not place any questions in our Q&A box until we get to that portion of the agenda. Questions in the Q&A box prior to the completion of the presentation will be dismissed to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to hear the presentation without distractions. So dismissed questions can be retrieved in the answer section of the Q&A box and pasted back in the live portion of the Q&A box when the presentation is complete. And you also may have noticed by now that your line is muted and you will not be able to share your video screen during the meeting. This is again just to provide the best listening experience for everyone in the audience. And a recording of this meeting, the presentation, and all other supporting materials will be made available online at www.beltline.org/meetings. And if you are having any technical difficulties tonight during this meeting, please email us at engage@atlbeltline.org. And should we encounter any technical difficulties, we appreciate your patience as we sort them out. So we're going to go ahead and jump to that next slide because before our project updates, again, we like to do a polling. This is just to get a sense of the virtual room by asking you all a few questions. So as I start the polling, you should see it pop up on your screen. Again, this feature is not available if you are viewing online on your browser, on Facebook Live, or if you called in. But of course, I'll read the results to the room. So our first question is, what neighborhood do you live in? We just want to see where our attendees are representing tonight. And we have a lot of options, a lot of options. So if I was to read it, I'll be tongue twisted. But of course, when we finish, I'll go ahead and share those results. So let's go ahead and end that poll and share it with the room. So we do have representation from Capitol View, Manor, Peoplestown or Pittsburgh, Sylvan Hills, High Point, Joyland, and villages at Carver, Chosewood Park, Inglewood Manor, South Atlanta, or Grant Park, Ormwood Park. We do have a few that could be representing from Glenwood Park, Madison Yards, and Reynoldstown. Or, of course, we have some representation from a Beltline neighborhood in the city of Atlanta that's not on this list. Or we have representation from a neighborhood in the city of Atlanta not on this list, or a neighborhood not in the city of Atlanta. So we're going to go ahead and jump to the next slide for our second question. And this question is, how long have you lived in your neighborhood? Now, this is going to be single choice. Again, this is just to let us know how long have you been renting your home? How long have you been a homeowner as well? Or you could just be in an apartment complex. So we have the 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, or 11 or more years. Okay, let's go ahead and end that poll and share it with the group. I see we have 12 people here on the call that have been in their home for 1 to 5 years, 6 with 6 to 10 years, and 5, 11 or more years. So our next question on the next slide is, what is your relationship to the Atlanta Beltline? Now, this question is going to be multiple choice. Again, you could choose as many options as you would like. We just want to know, are you using the trail? Are you just a homeowner in a Beltline neighborhood? Do you rent a home in the Beltline neighborhood? Are you a residential landlord, a business owner in a Beltline neighborhood, a commercial landlord, a developer, real estate broker, or a community activist or advocate, or you're just generally interested in the Beltline project? And again, it's multiple choice. Choose all that represent you tonight. Okay, we can go ahead and stop that poll and share the results with the room. So we have people that use the trail. We have some homeowners in the Beltline neighborhood. We have a few residential landlords. I see we have a few business owners as well from the Beltline neighborhood, a commercial landlord, a developer, some community activists and advocate, and of course, people generally interested in the Beltline project. Thank you for that. So we're going to go to our next polling question on the next slide. And it's asking, what are you most likely to be doing on the trail? And this is just, again, just for me to get to know you. This is multiple choice. And we just want to know, are you using it for exercise or recreation? Are you running errands? Do you go to work or school using the trail? Are you just engaging in leisure activities after work or on the weekends, or you just don't use the trail? All right, let's go ahead and end that poll and share the results with the room. We have a few that use it for exercising and other recreation, of course, running errands, go to work or school or engage in those leisure activities. And then we have one person that does not use the trail, but hopefully by the end of construction, you will be using it. So we're going to jump to our last question for the evening. And we always ask this question, and it is tonight your first meeting? This is just a simple yes or no. All right, we can go ahead and end that poll and share the results with the room. All right. So we have four people in here that have been to a Beltline meeting. Again, we want to welcome you back. Thank you so much. We hope that you're sharing the information. But we also have 22 that stated this is not, well, this is their first Beltline meeting, which that is a huge number for us. I'm going to say that as long as I've been working here. So I want to thank you all for attending tonight. So hopefully you have a lot of information. Again, between our listeners on our Zoom platform and Facebook Live and phone, there's always at least that one person. But tonight we have 22 who are participating in the Beltline meeting for the first time. And so for that reason, we always like to present our Beltline 101. So in this next slide, I'm just going to do a quick overview of just our goals and our vision statement and what we provide with the Beltline portfolio of projects. Of course, with our vision statement, it is to be the catalyst for making Atlanta a global beacon for equitable, inclusive, and sustainable city life. So part of that means is working with MARTA in its efforts to implement that 22 miles of light rail transit. Also, our goals of 1,300 acres of new green space. Other goals of 33 miles of multi-use trails, 5,600 units of affordable workforce housing, $10 billion in economic development, 48,000 in construction jobs, 50,000 in permanent jobs, public art, environmental cleanup, and tonight what we're doing, community engagement. So with that being said, we're going to jump into our projects. So I'm going to introduce Jennifer Desatel, our Senior Project Manager for segments 2 and 3 construction.
Thank you, Rashida. Appreciate it. It's great to be here with you all tonight. And we can go to the next slide, please. So my name is Jennifer Desatel. I'm a Senior Project Manager for the Atlanta Beltline, and I'm currently overseeing construction on segments 2 and 3 of the Southside Trail. Next slide, please. So we have a lot of new people on the call, so I'm going to just give an overview of what this portion of the trail includes. You can see the green star to the left on the overall map. And as you screen out, you can see where we're talking about, the yellow portion at the bottom of the overall picture. So we are down in that southeast corner. And so coming off of segment 1, which is at Pittsburgh Yards, we're starting segment 2. It's just west of I-75, 85 overpass. And we head east, we get to Milton Avenue, which is the first delineation mark. And then we enter into segment 3 and continue east to Boulevard Southeast. The entire trail segment for these two segments is about 1.8 miles. And the trail itself is going to be our standard 14-foot wide concrete trail with landscaping. We're going to have some fiber duct utilities, which you will never see, but they're there working for us all. Retaining walls, bridge maintenance and upgrades at the Pryor Road Bridge and also at the Hill Street Bridge. There will be pedestrian lighting and security cameras along the trail, which will be a great improvement to the temporary conditions that people have been utilizing. We have new access points going in at Pryor Road, McDonough Boulevard, D.H. Stanton Park, Hill Street, Grant Street, and Grant Terrace. And our estimated completion is the first quarter of 2026. Next slide, please. Before I get into the updates specifically, we want to do a special acknowledgement and thanks to several entities that have been promoting this project, both from just an idea standpoint, and also financially. The congressional delegation has offered us great funding support through the congressionally directed spending. And they gave approximately $5 million toward this project. That would be our senators, Ossoff and Warnock, and also the delegates from, the congressional delegates that are in the House. Another entity we'd like to recognize is the U.S. Department of Transportation. We were awarded a RAISE grant on this project, which was over $16 million, which was a tremendous boost to the project and the overall funding. The Atlanta Regional Commission Transportation Improvement Program also contributed dollars toward this project, $10 million. So you can see that these were a huge support mechanism for this entire project to become a reality. We've also been getting continuous aid and financial support by the EPA's Brownfields program, which is allowing us to clean up the remnants of the railroad that existed on the corridor for so many years. Next slide, please. So this is just a friendly reminder. We are under construction on segments 2 and 3. There's fencing put at the trailheads, and we really need you to adhere to this because there is a lot of very large equipment running up and down the trails. It's a danger for anybody that's out there, whether you're on foot or bike. I know everybody feels like they can watch, and I'll be careful, but we really cannot have you on the trail. It's an enormous liability, and it could be a danger to anyone that's on the trail. So we ask that you please respect that the trails are closed right now, and that you just use the side streets for doing your walking and exercise and so forth. So thank you. It's just a reminder. Next slide, please. So we're going to look ahead right now. This past week, we had a 7-day inspection, which is the engineer of record comes out and they take a look at all the erosion control that we have put in place to stabilize the downslope conditions and prevent any soil runoff from the site. That's something that's required that we do by the state. And so that inspection just occurred, and we should be moving into a grading and storm sewer installation phase. And also we'll be starting the construction of some of the walls. So the first storm drainage that we're going to be doing is for the G line, which is east of the Milton Avenue location. That is going to be closer to DH Stanton Park. And then that'll be going from October to November. At the end of November, we're going to be running into the E line, which is east of Pryor. This is going to be a significant installation of storm conveyance and storage on that section of the trail. We're going to be putting a lot of underground water storage and also piping in that area and above ground ponds as well. Also in November, there's going to be the start of wall construction, and that will start first at the Grant Terrace access point that's going to be installed. Wall construction will begin there. And at the end of December, we'll be starting walls at the Hill Street Bridge. So that's what it looks like we're going to be getting into over the next 4 months or so. Next slide, please. So we actually had the contractor mobilized to the construction site in May of this year. And so things you can, I know if you've been out there on the trail, you know that it was very quiet and there wasn't a lot going on, and other than maybe some bush hogging and that sort of thing. Well, the reason for that is we have certainly some environmental commitments that we have to adhere to. And there is a little bat that lives in Georgia, and it's the tricolored bat. It is on the endangered species list. And they're only about 3 to 4 inches long. They're a tiny little creature. But they have nesting that occurs between May and July. So we could not do any heavy clearing of trees or anything like that during that time period. So we weren't actually allowed to start tree clearing until the beginning of August. And once we hit that date, we had to call out the contractor. Reeves Young had to call out an ecologist to actually do an inspection of the 2 miles of trail to see if there were any visible signs of this particular bat. There were none observed. However, we did have a couple of big brown bats, big, they're maybe 14 inches tall, under the 75-85 overpass, and that little critter to the right, he's one of those bats that they snapped a picture of. I thought that was really cute. So we were looking out for this endangered species, and that was part of the delay at the beginning of the project. Next slide, please. So in the time that we started the clearing, that started the beginning of August, and we found a tremendous amount of debris and leftover tires and just general garbage, junk, steel, scraps, a lot of things over on it's the east side of Pryor, where a lot of that stuff was buried, and they had a lot of cleanup to do over there. They did also, there was a very concerted effort, both in the planning phase and also even as we are out there constructing. We were able to make some decisions on the fly that required some redesign for realignment to preserve some of the trees that were on the east side of Milton Avenue. It was a realignment of the trail. And so our landscape architect that is on staff with us, he just said, I think we can make this minor shift and save these trees. So that was done during construction. And Kimley Horn has been very agile and is accommodating us with those decisions. The other trees that were spared in this overall design were the ones that were east and west on the McDonough Tunnel. And so there's still a beautiful arboretum there with a lot of the trees that were there being kept and maintained on those hillsides on either side of the tunnel. So we've done a lot to try and save the trees. I know it's a drastic thing when the tree clearing occurs. It's my least favorite time of a construction project, but it's making the way for improvements that are going to be to allow the trail to become accessible to people who maybe can't, navigate as well as an able-bodied person. And so we're going to put in ADA accessibility to the trail. And so that's really what's causing a lot of these trees to have to be cleared in addition to the storm work that has to occur. Another good thing that came out of this clearing process was we were approached by Zoo Atlanta, Hal O'Kelly, and he requested, "Hey, can we get some of the trees and branches and leaves that are coming out of the clearing process? Would you all be willing to let us take some of that to feed the animals over the winter?" And the our contractor was more than happy to assist, and they actually ended up taking those materials over to Zoo Atlanta. And that's just a picture of us meeting out there and talking through the logistics early in the project. So that was something that came out of the clearing of the trees too. Next slide, please. So what we're looking at here, photographs on the right. Following the clearing of the trees, obviously we have to stabilize the ground and make sure that nothing is going to leave the site in terms of runoff during rainstorms. So the contractor to go through and basically follow the tree clearing operation to install the erosion control. And that's what you see there in the top left picture is a double row of silt fence along with some tree safe fence. And they also repurposed the mulching that occurred from many of the trees was held on the site to actually bolster these protection mechanisms to keep runoff from leaving the site. And that was done above and beyond things that were actually shown on the drawings. The contractor, Reed Young, has been uh, very cognizant of making sure that these protections that are in place are sturdy and that they're going to hold up in the storms. And we had a good test just over the past week. In addition, we also completed you're probably familiar with this building that's been sitting kind of off of McDonough Boulevard, and it was the old South Fulton County Health Department. It's been unoccupied for quite some time, and it did have asbestos inside of it, which we did an abatement on, and before it was demolished, but the building is down now. And what's going to take its place is going to be the new access point for McDonough Boulevard and a very beautiful walk experience with a lot of trees and plantings. And again, kind of going alongside of what those existing trees that were there at the trail. So that's going to be a really nice new access point with a lot of greenery. And I think that concludes my slides. I'll hand it back to Rashida at this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. Now I'm going to hand things over to Nancy Newell, our project manager for Southside Trails 4 through 5, to provide a construction update. We can go to that next slide.
All right, thanks, Rashida. And good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Nancy Newell, and I am the project manager for this segment of trail between Boulevard and Glenwood Avenue that is currently under construction. And I will be giving you guys some updates as well as showing you some progress photos of what we've been working on since the last time we met. All right, next slide. Okay, this is just a project overview of what we're doing and where we stand. Again, this segment of trail goes between Boulevard and Glenwood Avenue. It's a little over a mile, and we are implementing the mainline trail, which is our typical 14-foot wide concrete path. We also have two bridges going in. One will be at United Avenue, and then the second one will be at Ormwood Avenue, adjacent to the existing Ormwood Bridge that will be saved for future transit use, if able. And we've also got some ADA access ramps going in. One will be at United Avenue. There's one going in at Delmar, one at Ormwood, as well as an access path to the west side of Mercer. And then we'll be putting in some concrete stairs on the east side of Mercer. And as with all of our trails, we'll be installing fiber duct bank underneath the trail. We'll be putting in a whole bunch of landscaping at the end, and then we'll also have lighting and security cameras. So for the construction schedule, we started last June. Um, and this was originally a 2-year construction duration. We have run into a couple of delays, unfortunately. We do everything we can when we're during the design of the project to kind of identify utilities and make sure we are not in conflict with anything. However, despite our best efforts, we have still managed to find a few surprises out there, which unfortunately have delayed the schedule just due to we've got a lot of structures going in. So once we do encounter utilities, it takes us some time just to do some work to figure out if the line is still active, who it belongs to, what it is, and if it's actually going to be in conflict with what we've got. And if it is, we have to have our design engineers, our structural engineers take a look and see if they can revise the design to accommodate that existing utility. So that has been most of our delays. But the good news is we have most of that stuff that's going underground. We've got most of that in. The stuff that we still have to do, we really don't anticipate any utilities in those areas. So keep your fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we don't run into anything. So with that, our current estimated completion date is going to be next fall. And again, we've got Reeves Young on board that's doing the construction here. All right, next slide. And just like Jennifer's slide that she presented, this is just a reminder that the trail is closed. I know that this might be the most convenient route for you to get where you're going or to get home, but just for your safety, please stay out of the construction area while we are working. It's just out of an abundance of safety. This is a pretty active construction corridor. There's large equipment running up and down the trail at any given time of the day. So just please stay off, and we appreciate your cooperation during this time. And we look forward to turning the trail back over and opening up so the community can use it. All right, next slide. All right, so this slide just kind of shows some of the activities that we've got coming up within the next couple of months, starting with the ramp construction at United. This has been going on since July, and we expect to wrap up at the beginning of next year. We've also got the wall construction for the ramp down at Delmar. That's been ongoing a lot longer than this past August, but we hope to wrap that up by the end of this year and move on. And then the next few items, we're actually hoping to see some concrete trail pours towards the end of this year. We're hoping to get the segment between Boulevard and United poured at the end of this month. It might get pushed, but still that won't take long once we get all of the stormwater pipes underground. And then the next segment to go would be between Ormwood and Glenwood. We're hoping to start that at the end of this year. And then the next segment will just be closing the gap from United to Ormwood, hopefully early next year or looking into next spring. All right, next slide. And these are just some progress photos of what we've been able to do. So the photo on the left shows the bridge abutment at United Avenue. And this is the one that's closer to Boulevard. And then the photo on the right shows the other side on the Ormwood side. All right, next slide. And these photos here were taken at United Avenue for the ramp construction. And this just kind of shows the progression of pouring these columns and what all goes into it. So the photo on the left, you can see that concrete pad at the bottom of the column. And there are actually some big steel piles that we had to drive that are underneath that concrete pad. And then we pour the pad on top, and then the column encasement goes on top of that. And as you can see, there's a bunch of rebar sticking up out of there. And then they pour the concrete that makes up that column, which you can see on the right. And then the right picture just shows the backfill of all of those concrete footers so that they're not exposed. All right, next photo. And then this again is of the ramp structure, just a zoomed out view. We have 10 of the 11 columns, as you can see in this photo, poured and ready to go. We just have one left, and it's going to be the shorter column on the far side of that photo. And then they'll be ready to excavate in between those columns. There's going to be a stormwater pond. So they're going to start excavating dirt and preparing that for the pond. And then they'll go back and finish up the ramp. All right, next slide. And these photos are down at Delmar. The photo on the left shows some of our core 10 walls. That are retaining walls for that slope and that stormwater that we've got in there. And then the photo on the right shows the walls for the ADA ramp that will lead up and tie into Delmar. All right, next slide. And I believe this is the last slide for me. But this is at Ormwood Avenue. The photo on the left was taken from the street looking up. This is looking south towards United Avenue. And that's the new abutment that was recently constructed. And then the photo on the right is from the bridge, the existing bridge. And we are actually about to set set the bridge beams that will go from connect to the beams that were set that are currently over the Ormwood Avenue roadway. And they'll go north towards that abutment and tie into that. So that'll be coming up the next couple of days. So hopefully next time you drive by, those will be up in place. All right, next slide. All right, well, I'm going to pass it off to Sean Green for his updates.
Hey, everybody. Sean Green here, principal engineer for Atlanta Beltline and project manager for Southside Trail Segment 6 is our vernacular. It's also known as Bill Kennedy Way. Next slide, please. This is just kind of an overview. We are really kind of towards the front of this thing. We've submitted a concept report to Georgia Department of Transportation to put a new bridge over I-20 for the Beltline Trail. But you can see that we are in the process of still seeking some federal funds for this. And as a result of going through that process, it will be a couple years of design process to get to a point where we could start construction. Next slide, please. You've seen this slide already twice, so 3 times charm. Southside 6 is the green/purple dash line up at the top there, crossing I-20. Generally speaking, we're running from Glenwood Ave up to Memorial Drive. We are not replacing the trail that's already in front of the Reynoldstown Madison Yards shopping center, but we are going to be doing some intersection improvements there where the trail crosses those two driveways to try to make them feel and actually be a good bit safer and more comfortable. So, like I said, we're at the 30% mark with the concept report submittal. And the work that we're going to be doing at Memorial Drive is just trying to clean up the corner in the southeast. I think the Taqueria Tsunami place was there. And then, all the way down to Glenwood Avenue, basically taking from the bridge south, taking the interim cycle track out and doing a full Beltline trail implementation integrated into Glenwood Park. Next slide, please. Oh, so I stole my own thunder. Yep, full Beltline trail implementation. So the intention is, the 14-foot concrete paving, lights, cameras, landscaping. The bridge itself is also looking to carry that 14-foot trail over with some landscaping on both sides of it as well. It's not going to be very far off of the existing Bill Kennedy Bridge over the freeway. Probably, I don't know, maybe a 5 or 10-foot offset, so to speak, to tighten that up a little bit. But really what we're getting at is what I've already mentioned. The trail user safety and comfort modifications at those intersections at Madison Yards. The I-20 off ramp is something that we're looking at for a kind of a little bit bigger of a geometric change to try to prevent cars from flying through the intersection and into the houses and into the Beltline. And then south of there, we're going to be looking at Faith Avenue, which is the traffic signal just south of 20, where the Chick-fil-A driveway is. And then Garrett Street is the all-way stop a little bit farther south down towards Glenwood Avenue. Next slide. So in the traditional sense of north being up, this is our study area in red, which is the extensive Bill Kennedy Way from Glenwood up to Memorial. And I just need you all to bear with me because this is a this is a portrait world or a portrait project in a landscape world. So we're going to rotate this thing 90 degrees. If you can hit the next slide. There we go. So north is now to screen right. Same project extents with Glenwood on the left and Memorial Drive on the right. The next slide should show us the different ownerships of the roadway. So it's state highway that includes Memorial Drive down to the I-20 off ramps or the I-20 ramps. And then south of that ramp down to Glenwood is all City of Atlanta owned right of way and street. So we have two different sets of permitting requirements that we will end up going through to implement this project. Next slide, please. In terms of renderings, this is a rendering of the existing condition. Basically, your back is to Glenwood Avenue and you're looking north towards Garrett Street. And then the next slide will show us the proposed. Again, if you go back and look, these dimensions are approximates as to what we're getting at. This was done before we got the survey, but the graphics here are really the takeaway as to what we're trying to achieve. Basically, we're taking out the on-street parking along the western curb of Bill Kennedy, shifting the carriageway for car and bus and truck traffic over to the west in order to create some more space to allow for the full Beltline 14-foot trail implementation, a sidewalk between the doors and the trail so that people coming in and out of the buildings on the right don't just throw a door open into a trail. So there's and landscaping and lighting and cameras, all kind of basically what we're looking at is a building face to building face type of a project here. Next slide, please. This is the next block north, looking up towards Faith Avenue, with the townhouses on the right there. Again, this is the existing condition with the on-street parking and the planters that separate car traffic from bicycle traffic and sidewalk traffic. Next slide, please, shows the proposed condition here at this block. Again, removing the on-street parking, shifting the vehicle carriageway, and providing the trail access through with the lights and the cameras and the landscape, with a secondary sidewalk to collect people and provide access to all the stoops that are in the townhouses there. Next slide, please. Here we are up a little bit north of Faith Avenue, or standing basically in the intersection looking north towards the freeway. You can see the rendering of Chick-fil-A on the left, and the houses behind the sound wall on the right. Again, this is the existing condition with the MARTA bus stop in that concrete buffer there, just to the right of the white car. Next slide, please. And again, it's very consistent. We're taking out the on-street parking, shifting the carriageway for the vehicles over, carrying the trail through, improving the MARTA bus stop with some landscaping. Because there is still a buffer there between the walkways through the sound wall, we feel like that buffer is going to be sufficient for people coming and going from those individual houses there, and still have a safe entry and exit from the trail. Next slide, please. So this is the existing condition for the I-20 bridge as it currently exists. You've got two northbound lanes, with one being a turn lane, one lane southbound, with a concrete barrier wall and bicycle and pedestrian access to the screen right there. In the future conditions shown on the next page, next slide, thank you. The concrete barrier is removed from the existing bridge. You can see what I was getting at earlier with respect to some landscaping on both sides of the concrete trail that will carry over on a new bridge over I-20, separated a little bit from the existing bridge of Bill Kennedy Way. Next slide, please. So I've shown you what this is kind of envisioned in section, but to kind of get a sense as to how this all kind of plays out geospatially, you can see where the trail falls in front of the houses and the sound wall there. There's a little bit of an S-curve that gets us out off of the existing bridge and over onto the proposed bridge. So that can go, northbound, southbound trail access. The concrete barriers come out. We're going to paint that out, work with GDOT to figure out exactly how we can do that. But there's no reason to carry any more traffic capacity on that bridge than the way it's striped right now. And then the words where it says trail transition to bridge, that is the I-20 eastbound off-ramp traffic signal right now. We've got some ideas that we're working with the department on to kind of consider maybe even a splitter island, and we'll get into that in a second. But the other thing I wanted to point out is between the asphalt of the intersection of the I-20 off-ramp and the landscaping and the trail and the houses, we are looking to put in a concrete barrier wall that will kind of be stepped up a little bit to help increase its visibility, and also to protect the trail users and the houses behind it from the interstate off ramp there. Next slide, please. So within the Glenwood Park area, there's a lot of little streets, and it's a lovely little new urbanism community. And this graphic here is just to kind of show the existing vehicular access within the community at large. And you can see that there's a bunch of different ways that people can kind of move around because of the grid of streets and the tight grid that they have. that exists right now. On the next slide, I just want to point out some of the things that we're looking at. So in green is the proposed trail location with the black line representing the future vehicle location, just shifted over a little bit. And there's a couple modifications that we are looking to do to improve the safety and comfort of the trail user experience through Glenwood Park on Bill Kennedy Way. So starting down at Glenwood Avenue, I already talked about the shifting of the carriageway to the west. One of the things we're kicking around is to reduce the number of vehicle and trail user conflicts. We're thinking about, and we'll be working with the city on this. We're thinking about converting Garrett Street to an eastbound only, so that the only cars that would be conflicting with the trail users would be cars that are, traveling north-south on Bill Kennedy Way, as opposed to cars that are on Garrett Street looking for a gap in traffic, looking around buildings, trying to see cars and hopefully look for trail users. So this is one of those safety improvements that we think we can implement. We are going to be doing a traffic analysis to take a look at this and see what the implications of that are. But we think that there is going to be a pretty solid safety benefit to that. Similarly, up at Faith Avenue, on the Chick-fil-A side, we're proposing that that become a westbound only driveway, or roadway, I should say. And so that would be westbound between Bill Kennedy and the apartment deck there at Enzo. So there would not be return access to Bill Kennedy from the Chick-fil-A. They'd have to go down Chester to get to Glenwood Avenue. So hopefully that helps to relieve a lot of the traffic congestion and frustration and anxiety that exists at that intersection, which we've been hearing about from citizen feedback for years and years and years, even before we implemented the interim condition that has the planters out there right now. The other thing that we're looking at doing is, because Faith Avenue is a traffic signal, is we're considering a no turn on red condition uh, to protect the trail users. And we're also going to be looking at whether or not it makes sense from a safety perspective, but also from a traffic ops perspective, to prohibit southbound left turns from Bill Kennedy Way onto Faith Avenue into the Glenwood Park community. So we feel like that could probably be better taken care of down at Garrett Street, and not have as much of a congested area at Faith Avenue. And then finally, to the north, up at Gibson Street in this image here, there's two lanes that are westbound that align with the I-20 westbound on-ramp. Those two cars and those two lanes end up crossing the trail. But if there's two cars there trying to jockey, they get in each other's sight lines, and it becomes a very unsafe condition for trail users. So we think that limiting that to a single lane is going to pay off pretty significantly, if not just from a comfort perspective, definitely from a safety perspective. Basically a crash reduction factor and implementation. So those are some of the things that are being considered right now. We will be doing, like I said, a larger area kind of traffic study. We'll be working with Atlanta DOT on that from Faith Avenue South, and Georgia DOT from Faith Avenue North. Next slide, please. Oh, and so I mentioned earlier about the I-20 off-ramp and thinking about like a splitter island or something like that to geometrically encourage people through engineered solutions to either turn left or turn right instead of continuing straight. The next slide, excuse me, shows what this could look like with a splitter island at the top end of the ramp. Maybe even tweaking some of the geometry of Bill Kennedy Way. And again, through that traffic study, we'll be looking at whether or not it makes sense to make it an always stop or to keep it as a traffic signal. So that information will be forthcoming when we get that traffic study up and running and completed and reviewed. Next slide, please. And this is just kind of an idea as to how we could reconfigure Faith Avenue on the Chick-fil-A side to be one-way westbound between the Enzo parking deck and Bill Kennedy Way. Uh, the Chester Street Kroger Trail that comes down, or I should say comes up from Kroger across the Chick-fil-A driveway, stops at the property line of that green lawn area right now. And the property line is actually right at the back of the existing curb. So the intention here would be to bring that trail, excuse me, bring the trail up to Bill Kennedy Way within the Faith Avenue right of way, and then have some kind of a buffer between that trail, green buffer between that trail and the westbound lane, uh, which would basically shift over to where the eastbound egress lane is right now, approaching Bill Kennedy. So basically, all of the traffic that goes to Chick-fil-A would end up having to turn right out of Chick-fil-A and go down Chester Avenue. So we'll be looking at the intersection of Chester and Chester and Glenwood as well as a result of that. So again, this isn't necessarily absolutely going to be what happens here, but we think that this is a pretty solid proposal that can still get traffic to Chick-fil-A from Chick-fil-A, reduce the traffic congestion at Faith Avenue, and make that trail connection and provide everybody with something a lot more comfortable, a lot more safe, and a lot less anxious. Next slide, please. Well, that's my time. Rashida, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sean. I truly appreciate that. So I just want to say thank you to Jennifer, Nancy, and Sean as well, because again, we have reached that portion of the agenda that is now open for our comments and questions and of course conversations because we want to hear from you. So we're just going to discuss a little bit about how to participate in this conversation. Again, questions and comments can be typed or verbally expressed by raising your hand. Our audience is made up of Zoom online and phone attendees as well as Facebook Live attendees. So I'm going to briefly go over how you all can contribute to this conversation. So if you are a phone attendee, if you would like to speak, just press *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand when the discussion begins, and a member of the team will open your line when it is your turn, and your phone will prompt you to press *6 to unmute yourself. Now, if you're an online attendee or a Zoom attendee, you can submit a question at any time in our Q&A box. In addition, you can upvote a response by clicking the thumbs up icon. And of course, the raise your hand feature is available to you all as Zoom participants, but we are going to prioritize our phone attendees. Also, I did see we did have a few questions that came in during the presentation, but as we stated in the beginning, they would be dismissed. So at this time, I do ask that you go ahead and go back and copy and paste those questions back so we can make sure that we answer them for tonight's meeting. And lastly, for my Facebook Live attendees, again, please feel free to participate in the comments section. Someone from our staff will make sure that I see your question. So, okay. Let's go ahead and open up that Q&A box. And right now I have no questions at this time, but I do see I have a hand raised. So what I'm going to do, Caleb, for your hand being raised, I'm going to answer these first two questions and then I'll get to you. So this first question is from Alon. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a big supporter of Beltline Rail, and I'm glad that the designs are taking transit along the Beltline into consideration. Kudos to ABI. On the flip side, we know that Summerhill BRT is under construction and is supposed to connect to the Beltline. What are the options and features that ABI is considering to make sure the access to the BRT line are as convenient as possible? Are there any considerations being taken in terms of the connection to the upcoming Metropolitan Parkway ART currently still being planned by MARTA? And Sean?
So I'll answer from the transit side of things. We have been actually coordinating with MARTA and Atlanta DOT and the adjacent, I'm sorry, at Hank Aaron at the southern terminus in the turnaround point of the Summerhill BRT. We've been talking with MARTA, Atlanta DOT, and the property developer at it's been called East Medina Village. I think it's now called Skyview Apartments, but it's on the east side of Hank Aaron, just north of the railroad tracks. We've come up with a concept there to bring a ramp up from the Southside Trail corridor and connect to the back of the sidewalk at Hank Aaron within just a couple feet of the location where MARTA is putting in a traffic signal for a pedestrian crossing and for the bus turnaround to get back into Hank Aaron. So um, that lines up pretty well conceptually. So we'll be working towards that and probably have more information on that over the course of the next several months. But in terms of that vertical circulation and that access, we absolutely wanted to make sure that there was solid transit access to the Beltline and solid access to the high capacity BRT from the Beltline. And then it becomes a wonderful amenity for that apartment complex. And I think Beltline has like $2 million in affordable housing subsidies within that development. So it's something that um, we're already vested in it. And then the other question is, in terms of the Metropolitan Parkway ART, I think those bus stops so ART is arterial rapid transit. It's kind of an enhanced local bus. So it doesn't stop at every stop. It skips stops and it has some other elements to try to make that service go faster. Whereas a BRT, a bus rapid transit, is it's almost like a light rail streetcar type of a service where you pay on the platform and then you just board the bus and go. But the Metropolitan ART, the arterial rapid transit stops are, I believe, they're at the two signals, one on either side of the Beltline crossing at Metropolitan. So it's not a direct connection, but because of the vertical circulation ramps that we've already built to the sidewalk, there is pretty decent access from the Beltline to the ART as well. Hopefully that gets your question answered.
Thank you for that, Sean. That was very extensive, and I appreciate you for letting us know about the acronyms. This next question is from Charles. Will the new route of the Chick-fil-A endanger students at Maynard Jackson? It seems the redirect will send people behind INSO to an already problematic spot.
Yeah, and like I said, that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at is because we're going to be focusing, if it goes through, right? We think it's a pretty solid idea, but we haven't done the analyses yet to see what the outcomes are likely to be. So more information to come on that. But yes, I absolutely hear what you're saying.
Cody, I see you have a question for our council member Lewis, but he is actually not on the call at this moment in time. So what I'm going to do is have one of our representatives from Government Affairs, Bryson, if you do see Cody's question, go ahead and take that one down and submit it to Councilmember Lewis, and then we'll give it back to you, Cody, via email if you don't mind. But I'm just going to read the question out loud just for everyone to know. Again, he said this question is for the councilman. In light of the mayor's comments, the redirection of the more MARTA funds and the organized opposition by Eastside Beltline business owners, how can we as Atlanta residents help ensure the Beltline transit comes to the south and west side of the Beltline? We do appreciate that question, Cody. All right, and Caleb, you should be able to unmute yourself so you can ask your question. Please only ask one question. If you have a follow-up, just go ahead and wait so I can answer these other questions as well.
All right, thank you everybody for your time and getting on the meeting with us this evening. As a DBE, MBE business owner in the design engineering space, is there a way or an active channel that you're recruiting new firms to participate in this design effort for the Beltline?
I can take that, Rashida.
Thank you.
Caleb, and Rashida, if you want to put my email in the chat, Caleb, I absolutely would love to meet with you one-on-one and hear what your firm does. And we recently had a DBE outreach event. I can share those slides with you of all the upcoming procurements. And we actually have a couple procurements posted right now soliciting engineers, but I'm very happy to set up a 30-minute meeting with you and talk about all the opportunities and share the slides that we had from the recent DBE event and learn a little bit about your company. And I'm Kim Wilson. I'm VP of Design and Construction.
Thank you, Kim.
You can put my cell phone in there too if you want to, so he can text me or something. That's fine. Either way.
Okay. All right, this next question is from Alan. How do you envision the light rail navigating the Bill Kennedy conundrum? And this is a question for Sean.
Conundrum. Um, it's a two-lane street. We're keeping it a two-lane street. We're trying to put the dimensioning out there for what the light rail would require within the vehicle guideway or carriageway, so that the transit guideway can just kind of be plopped in without tearing up everything else. So that is the goal. I think that it's doable. We're still only at the concept phase. There's a lot more details to be worked out, but the the primary scope is the trail implementation, but we are trying to allocate the space. We're not going to be doing the transit design, but we are going to be leaving the transit envelope, and we think that the 24-foot carriageway will be sufficient for that.
Thank you. This is another question regarding Bill Kennedy, so don't go anywhere, Sean. On Bill Kennedy Way, why not keep the bus stop elevated as part of the improvement so that the bus doesn't have to kneel?
Yeah, that's a one of my least favorite things about renderings is that they are just that, they're renderings. So yes, they're based upon some engineering, but those renderings were done before we had all of our survey information and are really more just kind of take a step back. So we're actually going to be looking at the bus stop to see if it makes more sense as a near side stop for the northbound stop. So it would end up on the other side of Faith Avenue. So the bus only has to stop once, right? It stops for the customers, and then when it gets the green light, it goes on up towards Memorial. But absolutely, it would be a normal 6-inch height, and we have been working with MARTA to coordinate that bus stop, and that's why we're going to be looking at it as both a near side stop or a far side stop like it is right now. And then farther north on the corridor, there's another bus stop in the grass that we'll be making a paved platform. Platform's a strong word, a loading area with a connection out to the trail so that it's fully ADA accessible.
Thank you, Sean. This next question, I believe this will be for Nancy because it's referring to the extensive walls. This is from Donald. Gang and nuanced graffiti is spreading everywhere in Atlanta. Are the extensive walls being created in many locations being coated with a finish that allows easy graffiti removal?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. If you were looking at that first slide that I showed of the United Avenue Bridge abutments, the walls that support the bridge structure, those were covered in granite veneering. And we use this a lot around the trail because of graffiti. It is fairly easy to remove graffiti once it's up on granite, whereas with concrete, it's a little bit trickier. And with the granite veneering, we don't even have to put a special coat or anything on top of it. So it's a definitely for maintenance reasons, as well as the aesthetic look of it is it's a lot prettier around the trail.
Thank you, Nancy. This next question is for Sean. This is from Logan. Is the separation at I-20 exit on Bill Kennedy Way going to be similar to what is just north of West Marietta on West Side? That one is torn up by large trucks.
I'm trying to I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, there's a lot of truck traffic that ends up having to turn a hard right from southbound Marietta Boulevard onto West Marietta Street. Um, and that's all tied into the railroad intermodal yard. Um, I don't think that that's going to be an issue here at Bill Kennedy and I-20. The truck traffic that does exist is going straight. It's not turning right, which is the toughest turn for a truck to make because of its wheelbase and whatnot. If it does turn, it's turning left away onto the I-20 on-ramp. So I don't see that as being an issue. And, again, the carriageway is not it's shifting over, but it actually aligns pretty much straight um, throughout the entirety of the project area. So the big curve that you saw was a big curve in the trail alignment, but it's still a 20-mile-an-hour bicycle curve, so it should be fine. Again, the details are being worked out right now. We're only at 30% design, but thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Don't go anywhere again. This question is for Dan. Any plan to improve the public's entrance exit for Madison Yards on Bill Kennedy Way?
Yes, that is one of the so the graphic I had, I stopped at Gibson Street, and which aligns with the I-20 westbound on ramp, but the next street north, even though it's a private street, Woodward Avenue, we are looking to do a little bit more of a trail shift there to create some more space between the edge of pavement of Bill Kennedy and the edge of the trail so that a car can sit and wait for a gap in vehicle traffic on Bill Kennedy without blocking the trail at all, is what our goal is. So uh, that, and we're also looking to change the turn radius to go from northbound Bill Kennedy and turn right into that Publix driveway. We do know that that remains the primary truck route to deliver, food and whatnot to Publix and probably the balance of the shopping center there. But we're looking at doing a truck apron there to kind of make it a lot harder for cars to take that right turn at speed, but still have uh, something that the trucks can track over and not destroy, like they do in plenty of other locations. So ultimately, that right turn is going to be a lot tighter for car traffic, which will be a lot safer for trail users.
Okay. And then again, don't go anywhere. I have another question. This is from Jennifer. Are you planning to add a traffic light to the intersection of Chester Avenue and Glenwood? It's currently only a crosswalk light, which nobody stops for.
That's one of the things that we are going to be looking at with that area traffic study. We know that by making modifications and at Faith Avenue and Bill Kennedy, that the traffic will go somewhere else. And so that's one of the most logical places for it to go. And we'll be doing some traffic engineering projections and then trying to figure out what the best, safest, most efficient form of traffic control will be at that location. So again, that analysis is just getting going. And so over the course of the next couple of months, we'll start to get some information to come out of that that we'll be able to share hopefully at the next update.
Thank you, Sean. Now, this next question is going to be for you, Jennifer. This is from Kenny. He says, thanks for the updates. Question for Jennifer. She mentioned that the tricolored bats are endangered and the crews had to wait until the bats left to continue the work. Will their habitat being replaced for their return next year?
Kenny, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking it. So in terms of the environment, the overall environment is conducive to their nesting and to their mating habits. It's not that we didn't want to disrupt that time when they were actually breeding and nesting. So that is why they had to hold off on clearing the trees. It's not that we've taken away all of their environment or their habitat. They like to go under bridges. Trees are certainly a place that they would scope out, but the environment is certainly there and plentiful for them to return. We just didn't need to disturb them while they were trying to do their nesting and their breeding. Okay, so that's the answer to that.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Not an ecologist, though.
All right, Sean, I need you back for another question. This is from Donald. Do the plans for the Faith Avenue changes next to Chick-fil-A take into account the new building being planned for that corner?
The short answer is yes. if we can make that trail connection within the Faith Avenue right of way, then it does not change um, any of that development program that exists over there. I think actually it probably helps it out a little bit because I think that they were having to reserve about 10 feet for a sidewalk, a side path, the extension of that trail up to Bill Kennedy. So if we can do it within the right of way, that means that there'd be a little bit more green space buffer between the building and the trail edge.
Thank you. This next question is for Nancy. This question is from Jennifer. Question about segments 4 and 5. In the last meeting, the schedule said segment 5, Ormwood to Glenwood, would be the last to be paved. In this meeting, segment 4, United to Ormwood, is scheduled to be the last. How has this been flipped?
So the last construction schedule that we received from the contractor was, I believe, last week, and they had that swapped out. So you are correct there. It really just depends on if they can wrap up the United Avenue ramp as well as the ramp at Delmar. I'm pretty sure the bridge will be ready at Wormwood. So if those activities are complete before they go to pour the segment between Ormwood and Glenwood, they might flip it back and pour between United and Ormwood. But again, it's just kind of timing and their construction sequencing. We're kind of at that point where things kind of shift from day to day. And these are, very typical issues for construction. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some other flip-flop going around, on the actual schedule. But yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. All right. This next question is for Lisa. She's just asking, is it possible to get the answer to Cody's question emailed as well? So what I'm going to do is provide it in a Q&A report that we'll post on the website. So please allow us up to 2 weeks to provide that answer for you, and it will be posted so you can easily access it on our website. That is no problem at all. This next question is from Dominique. This is for, oh, okay. This question is going to be for Sean. What hours of operation would the light rail have? Being a resident on segments 2 and 3, I worry about the noise.
Thanks for the question. Right now, I would assume that it would match the operating hours that the Atlanta streetcar has right now, which I believe is I should look. Gonna guess it's like 6 a.m. to midnight. But again, part of what we're trying to do with transit, especially with the grass track corridor, is because it does a really good job of absorbing noise. It's not that loud to begin with in the environment in which the Beltline would or the guideway that would exist on the Beltline, because it's not really tight turns and whatnot. So it's not to say that it would be absolutely silent running, but we do not expect it to be a loud, cantankerous type of a transit system.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, this next question is for you, Jennifer. This is a question from Adrian. While the trail is closed during construction, and she's referring to segments 2 and 3, is anything being done to make it safe for students to get to Carver High School without risking their lives walking or biking on University Avenue, especially near the crazy northbound exit off the connector?
Okay, thank you, Adrian. I know it's a big concern for the community, and in fact, we did address this in the last community meeting. We had a meeting with Atlanta Public Schools, and just to understand, how much is the trail utilized for young people to walk to their schools. What they indicated to us was that there are buses that serve all of the communities west of Pryor Road. So there is no one that needs to get to that location over there that would not have access to a bus. We are going to put in the chat several different links if you have a specific concern. The Atlanta Public Schools makes it their objective to be able to talk to community members about concerns for the safety of the children trying to get to schools. So they are the folks that you need to talk to. And certainly if you have a specific condition, they'll work with you in any way that that they can to try and help a specific condition. But they did indicate there are safe buses that can transport the kids, and they aren't, the trail before all of these improvements before all these improvements were made was difficult and probably not a good walking trail without the lights that are going to be going in and the cameras. So we're going to drop that information into the chat. And if you can utilize those resources to try and get an answer to maybe a specific need you might have, they're there to help. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate the question.
Thank you, Jennifer. And at this time, I do not see any other questions in our chat box. Well, not our chat box, but our Q&A box. So I'm just going to give the room about a minute or two if you have any other pending questions. As you know, when I host community meetings, of course, I'll just move forward. And if you have the question, I'll stop, pause, and get it answered. So let's go ahead and just move to the next slide. Which again is before we close out the meeting, I just have a few additional polling questions. So again, as I start the poll, you should see the question pop up on your screen. This feature is not available if you have called in or you're viewing on a browser online, but I will read the results to the group. So our first question is, was the information presented tonight helpful in changing your perception and or understanding of the Beltline project? And again, this is just going to be a yes, no, or no opinion. We're going to go ahead and end that poll and share the results with the room. So as I see, I have 16 people that stated that yes, the information was presented tonight helpful, and we do appreciate that. So we're going to go to that next polling question. And it is, did you learn something new? It's going to be a yes, no, or need more clarity. We're going to go ahead and end that poll and share the results with the room. So I see I have 18 people that said that they did learn something new. So we do appreciate that. Okay, so we're just going to go out to the next slide. And go ahead and just say again, thank you all again. We are so excited to move these projects forward as much as possible. So we want to thank you all for being a part of this process. Now, our contact information is on the screen and it will be dropped in the chat box. I want to thank you all again for your participation in the final round of polling questions as well. And I also want to thank Jennifer, Nancy, and Sean for all of the wonderful updates you received tonight. And most of all, I just want to thank you again as the audience for joining us in this virtual space. As a reminder, a recording of this meeting and presentation will be made available online at beltline.org/meetings. So we'll see you all on the Beltline. We do appreciate you all. Have a great night.